Welcome back to Dexter Ranch. Today's the day that the cows finally got to go out to pasture for the first time of the season. This year I did things a little bit different, or I kind of started them off in a different area of the farm. And it's not a great area of the farm, but I believe that I did it for good reason. So I want to walk you guys out there to where the cows are. I had to start the video in the barn here because it's so windy outside that I'm not going to be able to talk out there, so I'll have to do a little bit of voiceover work. But I want to walk you guys out there and show you why I placed them where I did, and talk to you a little bit about different types of grasses and why it's good to know these things when you're trying to improve your pasture. So let's go out there and take a look. I'm going to take you guys over to where I started the cows here in just a minute. But before I did, I wanted to show you where I started them out last year. And at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you guys how I was able to educate myself quickly on all of these different types of grasses, being a fairly new cattleman. This is the field where they got started last year, and the reason that I made that decision last year was because this is my most established field. Now, it's not perfect, but it's coming along better than anything else on the property at this point. Believe it or not, this entire field was covered in mature cedar trees when I first bought the property. But like I said, it's coming along. So I want to walk around this field for just a minute and show you some of the grasses that are out here so that we can compare it to where I started them this year, so that we can understand a little bit better why I made that strategic decision to not start them out back here in the most established area. Here we have a little bit of ryegrass, or perennial ryegrass, so that's good stuff. All over the place there's these big patches of white clover, and the cows always like that, so I don't mind that being here at all. Over here we have a bunch of Kentucky bluegrass, and then there in the middle of that is a little bit of orchard grass coming through. So these are all good. None of these are native to the United States, really, but they're all good grasses. Here's some smooth brome. That's kind of just scattered all over the place, and that stuff the cows like about as much as they like alfalfa. So everything back here, although like I said, it's not native grass, it's all very good grass, and I don't mind it at all. Now let's go compare that to where I've placed the cows this year. As you can see, the area that I have selected to start the cows out in this year is very poor looking in comparison to the area that we were just in. And that begs the question as to why I would start them here. And that was my thinking last year as well. There's been a lot of trees cut in this area. That's why we have a burn pile right here, and we have a big stack of trees way back in the back there. But even last year, when the trees were all over the place, this was not a great area of the farm. So why would I start them here and not allow this area to grow as much as possible before I put them on? That was my thinking last year, and that would be the logical thinking, unless you know. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because when you're doing mob grazing or rotational grazing on your farm, it's good to know what you have exactly, so that you know what's good and what's bad, and what you need to strategically attack at what time of the year. So let's take a look at a few of the grasses in this area, and then I'll point out the problem child that's here, and the reason why I put them here first to attack one specific thing to start the year off. There is a few native grasses mixed in up here. They're not my favorite ones, but nonetheless, they are native grasses. They're prairie grass, so let's take a look at those. This is what they call meadow barley. It's not a grain like you would think when you hear the word barley. It's actually a grass, and they just call it meadow barley. This is what they call oval leaf sedge grass, and again, it's a native grass to the area. Not my favorite one again, but it covers the ground. The cows will eat it early in the year, for sure. So again, I don't really mind it being here. This is Kentucky bluegrass, like we seen out in the other pasture, and this is the one that I'm probably the happiest about being in this area, and wouldn't mind it to spread around a little bit. This is, I believe, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that this is California oatgrass. These grasses are kind of hard to identify if they don't have a seed head on them. The seed head makes it a lot easier to identify them, but I believe that this is California oatgrass. And same thing, I'm indifferent about it. I don't mind it. The cows will eat it early on in the year, and probably later it just gets a little less palatable later on. But the worst problem that's out here, and if you look around, you see a bunch of grass with a big white drooping seed head on it. And this is the problem child. This is the reason why I brought the cows over here, because this stuff has got to go. This is actually an invasive species of grass. It will take over complete pastures if you let it very quickly. And this is called cheatgrass. And it usually shows up when the ground has been disturbed, like mine has with all the skid steers and the tree cutting and all that stuff. But this is an annual grass. It's not a perennial. So the strategy here is to get these cows and mob graze them on this grass in real small paddocks to force them to eat it right now while those seeds are still soft. I'm actually a little bit late to the game. I should have got them on there a little bit quicker, but I ended up having to travel for work last week, so I like I said, I'm a little bit late. But over these next few days, I'm going to move them around, and my goal is for them to take out 75 to 85% of those seed heads, just to get the tops off of all of that grass. And by doing so, those seeds will not be in that ground next year, and the percentage of cheatgrass that'll be in this pasture will likely be a lot less next year. Now, this isn't going to happen overnight. This is probably going to take me 5 years to rid this pasture of this cheatgrass. But last year, this field had this grass as well, and it was a little bit later in the year when I got the cows over here, and I remember thinking, why are they not eating this grass? They were just walking right by it. And to me, I was just seeing like, hey, there's grass right there. Why are you guys not eating it? But the deal with this grass is if these seed heads are allowed to mature, they dry out and become very prickly. These are the seeds that when you walk through the pasture, you end up having these really spiky seeds in your socks, and they get stuck to the dog, and that's how they are scattered around, is because they stick to things. Well, because of that, they'll also damage the inside of a cow's mouth if they try to eat them when they're more mature than they are right now. As you can see right here, I can kind of squeeze these in my fingers, and they're in what they call the dough stage still, because the seeds are just really mushy still because they're immature. So at this point, these cattle can eat these, and this is the reason why I brought the cows over here first this year is just because of this cheatgrass. So we'll see how much I can actually get them to eat before the seeds go bad. I likely only have another few days before these things start turning brown and the cows just won't want them, and on top of that they'll probably be a little bit dangerous for them to eat even if they were forced to eat them. So to me it's very fascinating to learn about these different types of grasses, and I spend hours reading about this stuff and trying to figure it all out. But a quick way to learn about different grasses is an app that I found on the App Store. I'm sure I use an iPhone. I'm sure it's on the Google Store as well. But it's called Picture This. And with Picture This, you just open the app, walk up to the grass, and take a photo of the grass inside the app, and it'll say exactly what it is. Most of the time, like I said, it works a lot better if there's a seed head on the grass because it's able to figure it out easier. So try that out. It's called Picture This, and then on top of that it's got a lot of information. It'll talk about the forage quality and where it grows and what time of year it's the most palatable and different stuff like that. So try that out. So that's the video, guys. Like I said, I think it's very important that you educate yourself on the types of grasses that are in your pasture. Especially if you have a property like mine that may have been neglected in the past, or if you're removing a bunch of trees. Anytime you remove a bunch of trees, you're going to have challenges for the next few years. And the better you know how to navigate those challenges, the quicker you're going to get to your goal of having a really nice pasture. If you've ever dealt with cheatgrass in your pasture, I'm really interested in hearing how you controlled it, or if you got rid of it, how you did that. So leave that down in the comments. If the video was helpful, make sure you hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing to Dexter Ranch, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.